In his book, The Resurrection of People and Eternal Life from Now On is Our Reality, Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi offers 50 methods of resurrecting people, based on a deep understanding of the fact that the information about the resurrection can be given to the soul of the resurrected. This video is dedicated to the Method 3, method of developing the soul of the resurrected person, that is forming knowledge of the resurrection in the world of the living. Before delving into the context, let's read what the author writes about the movement of the departed, which is carried out through the structure of our consciousness. The movement of the departed is carried out through the structure of our consciousness, because in our consciousness there still exists the concept of departure and of the departed. It is our idea of the normality of the departure, of its naturalness, that makes it possible for it to be carried out. It is only because of the admission in our consciousness of the existence of the departed, they exist. When, as the general understanding grows, that life is actually eternal, that death is not necessary, that on the contrary, it only slows down the spiritual development of man. When, as man increasingly understands these true realities of life, the concepts of departure and the departed disappear from the structure of his consciousness. And this new understanding will become an integral part of the collective consciousness. Then everyone will live forever, there will simply be no departure and departed. Thus, it is enough to understand the world correctly, and there will be no departed. Everyone will live forever. The word movement is important in the formulation of the principle. But we are not talking about the dynamics that exist in a state of clinical death and which are described by those who have returned from this state back to our world. The corridors they describe, the emergence of calmness, the appearance of light, all this really takes place and is, as I said, the result of touching eternity. However, now I am talking about a completely different movement, about dynamics of a completely different kind. I am talking about a collection of microelements and event base. In the state of the departed, there is no concept of stopping or cessation of processes. After the onset of biological death, assembly immediately begins, assembly according to the structure of eternity. Appears a movement, for example, of information. The organization of life attitudes begins. Certain microprocesses begin, and much more. These processes go towards inward of the person, as it should be according to the logic of things when collecting his microelement and event base. Thus, as soon as the moment of departure happens, and the biological decay of cells begins, that is, as soon as the decomposition of the body begins, then the processes necessary for resurrection immediately begin, the assembly in the direction of the inside of the person begins. All this, by and large, confirms the absolute absence of the concept of death. There is only life and its endless development. And now, the Method 3 itself. The Method OF, the development of the soul of the resurrected person, that is forming the knowledge of resurrection in the world of the living. As the name of the method itself suggests, its purpose is to transmit the information to the soul of the resurrected person, which his soul will use to restore the physical body in the world of the living. The practical application of this method can be divided into 4 stages. Stage 1. Concentrate on the soul of the resurrected one in such a way that it becomes enlightened, that is, so that it gains clear light of knowledge. Stage 2. You mentally tell the soul of the resurrected person that in the current situation in the world, when the world is under threat of nuclear destruction and ecological catastrophe, for the universal salvation it is necessary to be able to restore physical body. This restoration of the physical body, its formation occurs on the basis of knowledge that is already known to you. You must tell the resurrected person about all this in sufficient detail and accuracy. Moreover, when talking to him, you need to take into account his individual characteristics. Remember that he is still an individual. So the conversation needs to be very specific. Stage 3. In order for the person being resurrected to better perceive information from you, you should be in a state of calmness. And it will be very useful for the matter if you realize that your state of calmness is a source of knowledge for the resurrected one. We can say that your state of calmness is like a lighthouse for him, which illuminates his path and which helps him navigate in the ocean of information. Stage 4. You must determine where, in what location the actual resurrection should take place. This place must be mentally shown to the person being resurrected, so that he knows where he must be resurrected. Of course, the resurrected person, as an independent person, can have his own opinion on this matter. He can offer his own option. It is not essential. In this case, you just need to indicate to him a specific meeting place, where he should come already resurrected, that is, in his physical body. When you mentally show the resurrected person the meeting place, you must very clearly imagine that space. For example, a street, or a room, or some other place where your meeting is to take place. You must definitely see, mentally, how the resurrected one approaches this place, and which place he comes from. You need to imagine the situation very well, at least within a radius of about 100 meters relative to the meeting place. Let me repeat once again. You must clearly, very clearly, imagine how he can walk these 100 meters. Be sure to see how he walks, and very carefully follow his entire path along this section, right up to the meeting place. And now a small addition. In the first part of this method and earlier in this book I used the term enlightenment. Now I will tell you what it means. Enlightened person. Enlightenment. An enlightened person is one whose light of the soul is visible. This means that the soul of such a person has the light of knowledge, the light of the future, the light of creation. When we talk about the light and, accordingly, about the enlightenment, we mean the creative aspects of the soul, its orientation toward the light. Thus, an enlightened person is one who carries the knowledge of creation, the knowledge of development, the knowledge of harmony. And enlightenment as a process is a spiritual growth. It is the spiritual development of the person who becomes enlightened.